Hey there everyone, what's going on? It's Brian from Navi Upgrade, and today we're going hats off and we're going to be adding power delivery ports to our Sync 3 system in my Ford Focus. The basis of this video can be applied to any car that has Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding power delivery injected into the data lines so that we can actually fast charge our devices while running Android Auto or Apple CarPlay on our display. We're also going to be adding a second USB-C port so that I can have fast 100-watt power delivery in my car so I can charge my laptop or any other power delivery devices on the go nice and quick. So without further ado, let's jump right on into what you'll need to complete this project. So what I used for this project was this USB-C car charger adapter that has 100-watt power delivery along with 30-watt power delivery. So the basis of what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding 30-watt power delivery, because that's all my phone can handle, to Android Auto, and I'm going to be adding a second USB-C port with 100-watt power delivery so that I can charge my other devices like my laptop and things like that. To power this, what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using this cigarette lighter with fuses car kit. It's about 13 bucks on Amazon. Really easy to connect this up and get it working in the car. And the other pieces to the puzzle, this would be pretty much for any car that you want to add quick charging or power delivery to that has Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, is I'm going to be using this USB-C power data splitter from Rosin. All the links to all of these things are going to be in the description below. And the last thing that I'm going to add is this Xerxian USB Type-C 3.1 flush mount USB-C port. So this is going to allow me to put this anywhere in my car, but specifically for my Ford Focus, since I have a facelift, I'm going to be putting two of them in the center cubby right below my HVAC controls. You can add this to your car anywhere. You would just need to use a Dremel or something of the sort to cut out the proper size hole. And then obviously you're going to need a screwdriver to screw the holes to make sure that they stay in place wherever you decide to mount this. So specifically for Ford vehicles, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using my Powertap Harness, which is available on naviupgrade.com for 30 bucks. And pretty much what this allows us to do is it allows us to take any of these 12-volt power points, and we can just plug into here. And what we have is this just kind of taps in as an inline connector. And so this plugs into the factory harness. And then we have a 10 amp fuse here. And then we can connect whatever we want so that we can power these things nice and simply off of our main cigarette lighter style power supply. The next thing that I'm going to be using for this is going to be a single port USB hub. And the reason why we're going to be using a single port USB hub is because the single port USB hub actually has an offshoot. So it has this kind of relay style where we have our data coming in, and then we also can have data going out and in at the same time. So this is for a remote port like the Focus and the Mustang have. So on the Focus and the Mustang, this is going to be kind of plug and play type of thing to get everything added to your car. But then if you have a different style hub, mainly like the two-port hub, you should probably replace that with one of these guys so that you can have the other port to go off to our little Tindy device here. If you decide to go the single port USB route with the remote port, what you're also going to need is this mini USB male to micro USB male OTG cable, which you can get on Amazon. It's by Xerxian. It's a Xerxian USB OTG cable, and it's about $8. So this will get you taken care of so that you can use that remote port with your Tindy device. So this is the Tindy device, and this is by Rosin. It splits power and data. So what we have here is we have, let's explain this as simply as possible. We have data coming in and out from our USB hub right here. And then we also have quick charge power coming from our power adapter right here. And like I said before, this middle port is 30 watts. So we're running 30 watts out to here. And then this is the output, which has both data and power connected to it. So this goes out to here. And what I've decided to do is I've decided to put my Android Auto on the left and power delivery for 100 watts on the right here. So pretty much this port goes all the way out here, and it goes to the output of the Tindy device, the USB power and data splitter, and then this other one goes directly to the power of our car charger adapter. So let's give a quick example of how this works. So first I'm going to take just USB-C off of the hub, which doesn't have any quick charging. So I'm going to put it on my phone, and I'm going to plug in. And as you can see here, we're going to open up Android Auto. We're going to say agree, and we're just going to set it up real quick and close this. And now let's lock our device. And then if we open up our device, we can see that our device is charging, but it's not charging rapidly. And the issue with that is, if you're getting somewhere and you need to go somewhere pretty quick and your phone isn't that charged, you really want to charge your phone as fast as possible. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to use our new setup here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this USB-C to C cable, and I'm going to plug one end in here, and I'm going to plug the other end into my phone. So I plug this into my phone, and what you'll see at the bottom here is that now our phone says charging rapidly. And what that means is that our quick charger is putting in work, and we're charging this phone at a full 30 watts. We can also see that Android Auto is properly running here, and we can do everything that we need to with Android Auto. So now let's get to setting this up inside of our car. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I set up my little hub here. Now what you can see here is we have two flush mount USB-C ports right here. And normally there was this big kind of connector thing that held in the factory USB ports. Pretty much all that I needed to do on my setup was I took a pair of these, and I also used a hobby knife, and the plastic is so thin that you can kind of cut that away. And then what I did was I made the space a little bit larger to fit the width of these USB Type-C flush mount ports in there, and then I just wiggled them through and got them set there. And then what I did was I drilled a mark in each hole so that I could take these out and drill directly down into them, and then put the provided screws back into the holes. And then there are these kind of grommet things in there that have threads in them to make sure that these aren't going anywhere. So if we decide to plug and unplug things all the time, it's not going to be a big deal. They're not going to come out easily. Alright, so that kind of lays the groundwork of how I did that. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to get this port ready right here so that we can add in our cigarette lighter and our power adapter. Alright, so what I would normally recommend for something like this is using some butt splices like that, and connecting everything up this way, just using some standard butt splices and crimping this and getting it all set, and then putting some heat under it to get this all tightened down. Unfortunately, I don't know where my crimpers are, so not going to use this. We're going to use the old-fashioned solder method and get this done real quick. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some heat shrink. Alright, heat shrink is added, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of untighten this just a little bit, unwind it, and then I'm just going to put these together. And this is just kind of the lazy man's way of soldering. And what I like to do usually when I'm not using my helping hands is just do it just like that. And we're going to take some solder, and we are going to make sure that the solder goes all the way through, and we get a nice tinning on our wires here. And to make sure that it goes all the way through, we're going to heat it from the back side as well. And there we go. Alright, now we'll move on to our positive side. I'm just going to take off a little bit of insulation here. Alright. And now I need a piece of this. heat shrink, and that's too big, so let's just cut this down just a little bit. All right, so let's untwist this just a little bit. Get this in here. Get these twisted together. Very good. And we're going to get some solder. And we can do the same thing again. All right, so that is that. We can turn off our soldering iron. We can turn off our soldering iron. And now all we need to do is kind of put that just like that. Move our heat shrink over it. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to take a heat gun and we're going to put this heat shrink tubing down. All right, so as you can see here, I actually used some Tesa tape to wrap around our power delivery charger and take it all the way up here. And I'm going to add some more just so that we don't get as many rattling noises in our cabin. So one last thing before we go install this in our car. What I have here is I have the trim for my car with my manual HVAC controls here. And this is what I got this guy out of. So pretty much I'm just going to get everything prepped on my desk here so that we can minimize all the filming in the car because my car is filthy right now. So we plug that in there, and this is going to plug into our factory harness. And then next what we're going to do is I'm going to set this right here, and I'm going to take this T25 Torx screwdriver. Actually, this is a T20, but it'll work with what I need to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this like this. And we're going to get this all lined up here. It'll clip into place just like that. And now we can install the 2 Torx screws that I took out earlier. So I'm pretty lucky that I have a Focus and a facelift Focus because I have the ports kind of already pre-drilled out that I just need to kind of cut a little bit into to mount those 2 ports. And all other cars that don't have a auxiliary or remote port, kind of like the Focus and the Mustang have, you're going to have to cut a hole yourself. So I'd recommend getting a set of calipers and measuring the dimensions of this USB cable and cutting a hole appropriately sized so that you can pass it through easily. All right, so now that's that, and you can kind of see how it's going to look in the car just like that. So let's go install this thing right now. All right, now that we have our trim piece with our 2 USB-Cs in it right here, we're ready to reinstall this into our vehicle. So the first thing that you're going to notice is that this and these are divided by this bar right here. But fortunately, there's a window that we can stick everything through down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my USB power delivery via our cigarette lighter style power port that we added in using the Navi Upgrade harness. Is I'm going to fish this through right here on the bottom, just through the bottom, just like that, until it comes up right back here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the short one that I have here, and I'm going to actually use that one for power delivery, 100 watts of power delivery. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm changing my main power. So for 100 watt power is now going to be the left one, and 30 watt power is going to be the right one right there. And this one's also going to feed through Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and all that stuff. So now I'm going to take the long one that we have here, along with our USB power, and we're going to take our USB power and we're going to plug it into 30 watt, because this one's going to be 30 watt. And then we're going to make sure that this is all tucked down here nice and good. Don't mind my other wires here. This is all from me manually wiring in my Sync 3 back in 2018. And what we need to do now is we need to take these two and we need to fish them down so that they come out down by our footwell down here. You can kind of lift up on your footwell and they will pull through very nicely, just like that. All right. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to get everything plugged back in. So first we're going to plug in our power adapter so that our USB power supply for USB-C is powered. So we're going to plug that guy in right there. And now we can move this back over here, making sure that we stay away from any shifter mechanism stuff right here, because we don't want anything interfering with that. The next thing we're going to do is if we're on an ST or an RS, we're going to plug in our sport mode, traction control, drive modes button right there. And we're going to put everything back down here. And look at that, my thing's popping out. So we just clip that back into place. And if you're on a manual car, make sure that we get our reverse lockout back in the right way. All right. Reverse lockout's in. All right, and now we have a few more bits to plug in back here, including our HVAC. If you are on a dual HVAC car, not the manual, you're only gonna have 2 plugs back there, along with your RFA, your remote function actuator, which is what controls your key remote system. And we're gonna plug this one in, and we're gonna plug in our top one right here. And the blue one for HVAC goes right below that. And then finally, we've got one more, and that's for our RFA. And I can plug in right here. All right, tuck all your wires back there so nothing gets caught. All right, and on the Focus, the facelift Focus, pretty much what you'll have is you'll have a screw here, and then if you didn't take these out, there would be 2 screws up here. And there's also one right back down here. Next step is we are going to put our shift knob back on. Oh, no, we're not. Forgot one thing here real quick. We have to pry this back up, and I forgot to bring through our passenger airbag warning light. So bring that through just like that. Now we can put our shift knob back on. And that's good. We're gonna make sure that we can row through the gears without catching anything. Everything feels good there. Now we can take our passenger airbag warning light, pop it back on there, and then pop it in there. Finally, we're gonna take this guy and get it pop back in there. Perfect, just like that. And now we're gonna run these to our back cubby back here. So for this part, I highly recommend turning the car on and moving your seat forward. If you have power seats, obviously if you're on manual seats, you can just move them forward. Don't do many things on premium model seats anymore. All right, there we go. So we have these 2 hanging out right here, and then we also need to make sure that we have our Tindy device ready. We can shut our car off. All right, so now that I've grabbed our 2 cables here, we're going to tuck them along the side, and we're going to stick them up through the bottom here. And you're gonna wanna remove your single port USB hub and have it ready. I also took the back part of the console off right here. There's 2 T20 screws. You just flip up these slots, these little flaps here, and you'll take those 2 screws out and the whole back piece can pop off. All right, now that we can lift our fingers through the back here, you can see my fingers right there, we can actually reach in farther back here. And what we're going to do is we're going to reach in until we feel the cables that we fish up into the console itself. And we're just going to give it a nice little tug. And we're going to give the other one a nice little tug. Make sure we get them both up in here. All right, now I have them both in the back of the console. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to take my Tindy device and I'm going to get it plugged in here. And I'm going to fish it down through the hole and I'm going to get this rested back into place. Now let's take a look on the back side and look at how we're going to plug in the power and data splitter. All right, so what you can see here is that we have our Tindy coming in with data here from that OTG cable, and then we're going to stick power in right next to it, right there. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our hub, our front hub that we added in. And what we're going to do is, it's really easy to know that that's the one because it has this right angle connection on it. And we're going to plug it in. So we get it plugged in just like that. And let's rest everything in place right there until we figure out if it works properly. Then we can tuck this all back in here and close it all up. All right, so let's start our car, move our seat back, and I'm gonna get this plugged in right here. All right, so now what we need to do is we have it all loaded up here. And let's see if we are getting quick charging with Android Auto. So we're just going to plug in our phone. See, our phone starts charging. Android Auto launches. All right, so now you can see that Android Auto has launched. Now let's double check and make sure that we're getting power delivery. So we're going to lock our phone. And we can see at the bottom here, it says 75% and charging rapidly. I think the issues that I'm having here are actually with this cable right here, not with any of the setup that I've done here. So as you can see, that is how you can add quick charging with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to your device. Let's try this with another cable here real quick. All right, so we have that, and there, that feels better. Let's give this a flip. All right, so that works. If you have any issues with this, then on the power and data splitter, on the output, flip the cable the opposite direction, and that'll make sure that you get both power delivery and Android Auto running through. There's some sort of weird circuitry with USB-C that makes this a little bit weird. All right, so the final thing that I want to show you is that we have 100-watt power charging here. So I'm going to turn my car on. And I'm going to plug in my laptop. And as you can see, we have a little orange dot there, so that means that my laptop is charging. And let's turn off all these notifications. And now, as a bonus in this video, I'm going to teach you how to connect to ForeScan and change your PowerPoint timeout so that this thing doesn't drain your battery when your car's off. All right, so now what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to open up ForeScan and I'm going to let the car connect. And it says no adapter found, so that's not a big deal. We'll unplug it and replug it real quick. And we're going to try again, and it's connected. Gonna connect to my car since it's already been connected before. And this is just going to take a minute. So the one thing that I do want to point out is that if you do two ports, one with 100 watt and one with 30 watt for Android Auto, you can't use them at the same time. So if I were to plug in Android Auto here, it would not charge my phone. Yeah, so we've got nothing on our phone here. All right, now that we're connected to our car, we're gonna go over to the chip down here. We're gonna go to configuration and programming, and we're gonna go straight to body control module, central configuration main. We're gonna click play, and we're gonna click OK. And we're gonna get all these things going on the dash. We're going to turn off the ignition. Gonna press OK. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna scroll down here and we're going to go to engineering mode right here. And what I want to look up is power. Power. Nothing here. Let's see about timeout. Nothing about timeout in here. So let's just scroll and see what we can find. Alright, so on this car, it doesn't look like we have a battery timeout, but on your own vehicle, you probably do. Probably it's just a C1 MCA thing, which is like the Focus, the C-Max, and a couple other ones. So pretty much what we're going to do is we're not going to do it on this car, but normally what you'd see here is you'd see a PowerPoint timeout, and you can select how long until these PowerPoints time out so you don't end up killing your battery. So since we don't have that, we are just going to not use it, and we're going to unplug all of our stuff, and we are going to open our door, turn the car off, and we're going to press stop, disconnect from the car, and that is that. All right, you guys, so a couple of takeaways from this recording. So if you use this power adapter that I used right here, apparently you can't use both 100-watt fast charging and 30-watt Android Auto at the same time. Just isn't going to work for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. But essentially, you know, you can still get Android Auto with quick charging in there. And then if you need to charge your laptop, you can just use, you know, your regular port in the back to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the inability to change your charge port timeout on the Focus. So essentially what you might want to do instead is use one of these fuse tap kind of designs. So you'd want to get a mini fuse tap for the Focus and put it into a fuse slot that times out with key off. And that will make sure that you won't be draining your battery while the car's off. And that's probably what I'm going to be doing. Although my battery kind of comes out of my car every time that I leave it sit because I've got one of those little race batteries. And it just dies on its own. So I can't really do anything but take it out and put it on a trickle charger. So I hope this video was super helpful in getting you set up with power delivery in your car. You know, it doesn't have to be a Ford Focus. This could be on a F-150, could be on a Toyota, could be on anything. And this is just the principles to get you started to add power delivery to your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay devices while you're on the go so that you can charge your device real quick and get back to full battery in no time. If you have any questions about this video, feel free to drop them below. Of course, if you like this video, leave a thumbs up on it. It really helps me out. And of course, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And you get to see a whole bunch of cool new content coming out just like this video right here. And I really appreciate you for sticking around to the end. And of course, until the next one, take care.